Finally, let's talk about consequences of all the series of presentations I have given you. Consequences. And I just finished a book. It's my new 2021 book. The law of cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance or outside the universal laws. Every action has a reaction or consequence. We reap what we sow. The most important lesson involving human contact and interaction is seen in the cosmic law of cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Every human thought, word, and deed is a cause that sets off a wave of energy throughout the universe, which in turn creates the effect, whether desirable or not. This is why good thoughts, good words, emotions, and deeds are essential for a better world. For all good actions create good effects. Now let me summarize a small list, partial list, of what President Joe Biden has so far decreed. And let's talk about cause and effect. One is an executive order rejoining the Paris Agreement on climate change. Just when America is #1 in fuel, in energy independent, in fact, we're selling gas to Europeans, he cuts off our fuel. He doesn't realize that by rejoining the Paris Agreement and cutting the pipeline and other acts, he is affecting the minority groups more than richer people. Minorities have to pay more for their gasoline, for everything. When in fact, China and India are the greatest polluters of the world. The U.S. only produces about 15% of CO2. 15%. China has all these coal furnaces, electric generators based on coal and oil, dirty oil. Our air is relatively clean. Our water is clean. We've come a long way in the past decade. Second executive order was to promote racial equality, but he calls it racial equity. That's socialism. When you require equal outcomes, not equal opportunity, but equal outcomes, that's socialism. He ordered a minimum pay of $15 an hour for all workers. That will cause, the reaction to that will be increased minimum pay, causes loss of entry-level jobs. Thousands, tens of thousands will lose their jobs, especially low-income workers. The proclamation ending the ban on U.S. entry for Muslim countries. The cause? The reaction? He's inviting future chaos. More terrorists will come into America. The executive order revising immigration enforcement policies. Causes cheaper labor, which takes away American entry-level jobs. Executive order undoing regulations and restrictions on federal agencies. More regulations causes more delays in construction and everything else, and much higher costs. Executive order incorporating undocumented immigrants into the census. As a result, illegals in the census will create more representatives in Congress. Most of those will be Democrats, of course. An executive order on climate crisis and canceling Keystone, which I referred to earlier. Solar technology doesn't work where there's clouds in the northern parts of America and Europe. It doesn't work. Windmills don't work without wind. And when it's dark, nothing works with the solar panels. Now, who supplies these solar panels? The major supplier is China. And America subsidizes solar power by about 50%. That is, us U.S. taxpayers have to pay for this. It causes lost jobs, resulting in reliance on China. Proclamation stopping and pulling funds from the border wall. That causes an influx of illegals and greater crime rates, greater virus spreading. Who pays for these illegals? Medical care and education. We, the taxpayer, will pay. Executive order expanding food assistance programs like food stamps. Well, that's good for those who are indeed hungry. Greater food stamps causes dependency on the government. Now, recent news, the mouthpiece for Biden, that redhead, I forget her name, she said that 1/7 of the U.S. is hungry. They can't put food on the table. You know what 1/7 of the U.S. population is? That's about 50 million people. Tell me that 50 million people are laying in the streets hungry and can't eat? BS. I worked in a soup kitchen. Anybody who is hungry can go to a local soup kitchen supported by people like St. Vincent de Paul Society and get a decent meal. I was the chef one day a week at St. Vincent de Paul. I fed with others over 200 people a day. Don't tell me that 1/7 of the population is going to bed hungry or doesn't have any place to sleep. That's bullshit. Executive order guaranteeing unemployment insurance for workers who refuse to work due to COVID-19. So these workers will be paid because they fear the virus. They have to get over their fear, especially school teachers who need to go out and teach our children. Finally, an executive order reversing transgender military ban. How many soldiers want transgender people in their foxholes when they're fighting a battle? It causes weaker fighting proficiency and lower morale. Therefore, we don't have to obey bad or immoral executive orders or decrees. But you got to be willing to stand up and take the penalty. Again, remember that Lieutenant Kelly situation in Vietnam, group evil. Also, the Nuremberg trials after World War II, judges agreed when these high-ranking generals said, I was required to obey Hitler's command and orders. The judges at Nuremberg said, that is no excuse. One must follow their conscience, which dictates all human decisions. You know, fear is the beginning of wisdom, the fear of the Lord. I want to leave you with a final conclusion. Mr. Gilder, Gilder, George Gilder, he said, quote, "Human beings have free will. Paradoxically, this means that we aren't at liberty simply to withdraw from the fray and expect good to triumph. We have the burden of climbing that mountain." I continue to quote him. This combination of destiny and free will is the crowning paradox and glory of the human condition. What gives goodness its effect is that it transcends a particular lifetime. By committing to it, we partake of a higher order that surpasses our own life and its limitations. So this pandemic is a wake-up call for all humanity. We must pick up our cross and find meanings in our lives. Life is a one-time offer. Please use it well. Thank you for your attention.